Greetings, welcome back. Reading through it, Unveiling the Conqueror Within by yours truly. Proud of that girl. She's been through it. Keep moving. That's ironic. Have you ever seen a 2-year-old's approach to life? Mine. We are born with a naturally self-serving mentality. Some of us live with this philosophy forever. But for most, we grow into a compassionate posture of giving. Let's consider the shift from selfish survival instincts to loving others deeply, even to the point of risking our lives for a stranger. Why and how do you think good exists in the world? Why do you think good exists in the world? How do you think good exists in the world? How does good survive on this violent planet? When and how do you suppose the shift occurs from the 2-year-old selfish mindset to loving compassion? And I left some blanks here so you could fill it in. So you can pause this if you want and journal. When and how do you suppose that the shift occurs from a 2-year-old selfish mindset to loving compassion? Another question to ponder is, what is it within us that receives fulfillment when we sacrifice our selfish motives? What is it within us that receives some sort of fulfillment when we sacrifice our selfish motives? Whatever it is that brings about fulfillment when we give is different than the 2-year-old's natural operating protocol. My guess is that giving is fulfilling because we understand that we're all in this together. This ideal is inspired deep down through either, option A, divine revelation inspired by an awareness of abundance produced from the grand creator. When our sights are set on this unlimited resource, fear has no place to stand. In this mindset, giving does not depend on our current circumstances, nor does it involve judgment, because we are all equally God's children. He is our provider. What is ours is only ours because of His goodness, and therefore, we have our humanity in common. There is no them, there is only us. So that's the first ideal that inspires the concept of we're all in this together. The second option, the second possibility of this we're all in this together is it could be inspired by a tiny bit of fear. I help you because when I'm in need, I hope you help me too. This comes from the perspective of a scarcity mindset, thinking bad things are bound to happen, so I'm hoping that if I'm generous, I will teach others to be generous, and therefore myself and my family will be taken care of in the long run. Both are valid, both lead to a similar outcome, possibly, but they are very different postures. One holds peace and access to unending power, because we can always go to the unlimited source, with a capital S, once we discover how, while the other is dependent on our limited understanding, limited graciousness, and limited ability to produce. So the first concept of that there's divine revelation that's inspired by an awareness of abundance produced from the grand creator of all, with our sights are set on this unlimited resource. When that is the case, and that's our posture, fear has no place to stand. In this mindset, giving does not depend on our current circumstances, nor does it involve judgment, because we are all equally God's children. He's our provider. What is ours is only ours because of His goodness, and therefore we have humanity in common. There is no them, there's only us. But what I will say about what I've learned since writing this book is that there are people who will stunt their own growth, resist their own growth because of those of us who have chosen to grow and who have chosen to understand that there's this abundance. And we do not serve those who refuse to grow by enabling them to be takers. We do not serve them in the long run. It's always good. Really, giving is more about our own self. It's about what it does for our life more than it is about what it does for the other person, if that makes sense. There are some people that will be a black hole of forever choosing to be broke. Yeshua said the poor will always be among you. When I first read that, I was like, what? Like why? You know? And the reason is because he knew that doing the work to not be poor is a choice that not everyone will make. Doing the work to not be in a poverty mindset it's an option, and not everyone will choose to take the road that leads out of that mindset, because the road that leads out of that mindset is one of sacrifice, of discomfort, of humility. You must, be willing to be new constantly. You must be willing to be wrong. You must be willing to be okay with change and changing yourself. So this is a lot of evolving and growing, and some people will never choose to do that, and therefore they will always remain poor, and they will always remain among us. And it's up to us to remain it's up to us to choose and to use discernment to know when to give and when to not give anymore, because sometimes our giving is simply enabling somebody to never meet their own growth. And it's up to us to decide if we're willing to be that person or not.